524, what's that, like 100 over? I mean, for a first run, I can't be too mad about that. But at the same time, you get a little less than 100 off the first act, or sorry, off the second act. So I guess technically I gained, I mean, I don't know, calculating ticks on the nearly ideal second act is kind of dumb, but the slow hero chart shows nearly ideal is down 96 after the second act. So for whatever that's worth, I'm sure I could get more than nearly ideal ticks off that, so it's probably not accurate in this particular case, but yeah. I'll have to go back and analyze the last act in particular. The fourth act was just bad. Like I said, I've never done that act, which isn't really an excuse. It's not difficult. It's just, you know, I don't know. It's easy to get in your own head when you're on good pace, when you get the second act. Last act, I actually attempted to use the trick that I talked about in the Radium Eyes video, where I just got really lucky on that song and ended up with an optimal activation on the third act without using this, but this time decided to give it a go. I think my activation was slightly late here, so I probably lost some points, but you saw the gist of it. Do a extended hit window fret trick on the blue so that you're already holding orange, and then you can just do a simple strum and activate on sequential frames, and you don't have to worry about fretting at all. Also, when I said that I think that I did a late activation, I simply meant that I think I strummed late on it. I don't even know about the activation. The activation could have been a couple frames late, so that could have been bad, but there's really no use speculating too much until I review it. But yeah, fourth act could have definitely been improved. I don't need to review that to say for certain. So TAS findings on the other acts. First act is the double squeeze is possible. It is a 1 frame extended hit window activation, which I've already described in several videos, is like even as the first act with basically nothing going on before it, you know, especially no whammy or anything, but even still I'm not touching that. I attempted it in several runs before I ended up tasking the song just to see what was possible by feel. The second act upper bound I was able to just get without finding out if it was, you know, possible or by how much, so that does give you a good idea, because sometimes, you know, theory is nice and all, but if you can't put it into practice, doesn't matter, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, probably won't be going for that. Second act, it is basically as far as it goes, as far as I know. I did try to possibly extend the nearly ideal path to use the fret trick on the yellow in the similar way that I did for You Really Got Me, but it's very far away from being possible. Likewise, not that this is really important, it's just, I guess, part of the process that I went through for this. I tried moving back the upper bound activation to the first green, so behind the yellow that I activate, that it upper bound activates on, and the red, to the following green, because I thought that since the red-blue chord, which is the same amount of distance away from the back end, was all by itself, it maybe had a bigger frame window. It didn't turn out to be the case. Ended up being a frame worse, but I'm pretty sure that was just frame rate inconsistency. You can kind of tell, I think, when you're going through frame by frame, because some notes will line up with the strike line as they're moving across it, and some won't, and I'm pretty sure that's like the deciding factor for most cases on why things end up teetering on one frame or the other. So yeah, anyway, I don't think the second act is getting any better than this. Third act, upper bound just has the whammy bar built by Zeus, because that act is not even, it's like 2 frames away from being possible with perfect whammy and max extended hit window. I don't think I was able to produce any buffered first frame whammy on any of the sustains, but So that might make it possible, and I'm assuming, again, I think I've said this in a couple videos, but I think that's what the upper bound is doing, is that it's calculating whammy on the first frame, which isn't normally possible. Yeah, nothing to say about that. It's impossible, and there's just nothing around that activation that allows it to, that allows any kind of room for expansion as far as I know. Fourth act, pretty interesting. The yellow, or, you know, even the first red, doesn't matter from what I saw. There's an extra 200 on that, or I guess extra one, whatever the optimal amount of ticks is, minus that from 200. I'm not sure which activation is better, activating on the red like the upper bound does, or the yellow, which was just my little adjustment because I think it's whatever, it's slightly easier, I guess, for utilizing extended hit window. It's not really, it just works better, I guess, in the song. But anyway, the only reason I say that is because activating on the yellow, you get the red sustain in, and it's a 2-frame window. But activating on the first red, I think it had that same frame rate inconsistency where it had a smaller note window because it was desynced from the strike line, but it still ended up being a 2-frame window ending on the red before the sustain, which makes me think that on a more stars aligned run it might be a 3-frame window. That being said, there's still 2 whammies on there, so I don't know, maybe worth going for. That's without any buffered first frame whammy, which you can do. I just didn't even bother to test it because I'm not sure how realistic it is and blah blah blah. Wasn't something that I was willing to immediately implement. I guess another reason I tried activating on the yellow instead of the red, as the upper bound path does, is because you spend a little less time under 154 tempo and spend more time under 153, which, since the back end there's no change in tempo around there, it shouldn't matter. It should just give you more star power to be under lower tempo. But again, you know, it might end up being ideally a frame worse of an activation if anybody is gonna go for that. And last act, again, really nothing to say about it. I'm curious if I just straight up dropped ticks on any of those star power sustains as well. That could have easily happened, but this is probably far from optimal. I might honestly, even though I very rarely if ever do this, I might give this a few more runs just to see what can happen on the 4th, and particularly the 4th, but maybe clean up the 5th a little as long as the second act cooperates. So if this gets uploaded, I guess I failed in doing any better. Seriously?